Good morning! So, let's get into it. What is it that makes an app good? Or rather, how do you know if your app idea is a good app idea? Well, I'm here to tell you that the fact of the matter is that it's one of the, in my opinion, most underestimated problems that you could possibly try to solve. Everybody has an app idea. Trust me, every single person has some type of app idea. And the problem is that you kind of think that it's going to be this, well, at least not everybody thinks that, but very few people understand what it actually takes to make something popular. It's the same type of thing, like everybody thinks that they can start producing children's books or children's stories or YouTube videos or anything and make it popular. And the fact of the matter is that these things are very, 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 very rarely as easy as you think they are. There are absolutely exceptions. And a lot of people will also tell you that, oh, that's just luck and so forth and so forth. And the thing is that I'll share something that my old martial arts trainer told me once, many years ago, and it's probably one of the best things I've ever. It's a spot of wisdom, really. He's told me the context was, you're fighting someone, you're in a life or death situation, and you're fighting to basically save your life. Now he said, Fredrik, the thing is that luck always matters. There's always a piece of luck with you, and it always comes down to a small portion of luck. But you can reduce the amount of luck that you require with skill. You can close the gap for how much luck you need for anything by preparing, by making sure that you know what you're doing. And honestly, that stuck with me for many, many years. It's still with me even today. Because the thing is that regardless of how good your app idea, regardless of how skilled you are, you can be a master entrepreneur, you can be a master programmer, you can be a master of a lot of things. It always boils down sooner or later to a small piece of luck. You need some good fortune. It's like a poker player. All you can do is to put the odds in your favor, but there's still odds. There's always a grain of luck involved in it. So when it comes to having an understanding of whether or not your app idea is a good app, I will give you what I've learned so far, and this is some priced information, so make sure you're listening now, because this will save you years and years of development time. So when it comes to figuring out if your idea is a good one, start off by formulating your problem, like making sure that you have a concrete understanding of what it is that you're going to build. Not something like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make Facebook but for dogs, or for I'm going to revolutionize the banking industry by optimizing people's, transactions, or something that loose. You have to look at a concrete problem, something, as I said, concrete. You're fixing a single issue and making sure that you can formalize it in a very concrete way. Think of it as what entrepreneurs usually have. What they have, the pitch, the sales pitch, and this is actually a very good way of forcing yourself to formalize what it is that you're actually building. The 30-second or the 10-second pitch. If you have a 10-second and a 30-second pitch, which you can basically, because when I'm asking you at the idea level, when I ask you the question, hey, what's your app about? Then you have either 10 seconds to start off with, and then you have 30 seconds. If you can't, without stuttering, tell me what your app idea is about, or doing a lot of if you can't do that, your app idea isn't good. Toss it out the window and formalize it. Make sure that you know what it is about. That's number one. Number two is that you set your expectations realistically. Because the thing is that some app ideas are big and some of them are small. Now, if you are watching this, presumably you are someone who is into programming, so odds are that you can probably, you know, or you at least will know how much work is involved in building your idea. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, let's build another Instagram but with this twist, that's a very large project. That's an extremely large project. It's actually the sort of project that takes years and years and years to do, and it's especially difficult if you're doing it all by yourself. And I can tell you firsthand that I recommend highly that you take this next piece of advice very, very seriously. You have to come up with an idea that is going to bring initial value to whoever is going to use your app at small scale. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that you are not, trust me, you are not going to be able to create a product that only brings value when it's as large as Facebook. Anybody can do that. If you gave me a full team, like an entire company of, let's say that Google fucking just gave away half of their developers to me, of course I can build something with them. Of course I could say, hey guys, you're gonna build me Google 2. You're gonna build me something massive, something spectacular. Of course you can, because it's the same idea as, if you only had $1 billion, you could do all these things. Yes, this is true. You can, but you don't have that situation, which means that when you start off, you have to make sure that your idea at small scale is going to provide value. Think of it as a social media network. A social media network very rarely holds value to anyone, unless it's really big. Facebook's value comes from how massive it is. It didn't start out that way. It had to build itself from nothing, and that's extremely difficult. So trust me, the odds that you're gonna fail are enormous if you don't have anything else than, hey, I'm gonna build this amazing social media platform and everybody's gonna use it. That's gonna be very tricky for you. However, if your idea is more concrete, something smaller that actually brings value to people, at very small scale, where the idea basically, it doesn't matter if it's 10 people using it or if it's 1 billion people using it. If that doesn't matter all that much, then your idea is perfect. That is exactly what you're looking for. Because the thing is, most people who are designing a product are thinking of how the system is going to work at large scale. But the problem is that they never get there, because it takes a lot of time to get to that size. And if you don't account for the time from nothing up until that point, you're going to fail. It's very likely that you're going to fail. So that's my absolute biggest tip. Make sure that your idea will be able to produce value at small scale. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Trust me. Anybody can sell something that is large, even crappy products. I mean, shit, even if an idea is horribly bad, you will be able to convince somebody to invest in it if it's just, by simply using marketing, and if the idea is large enough. So that's tip number 2. And the last and final tip is that when you first start to put code onto the screen, you start building it, make sure that you have a rigorous testing process. Build the absolute smallest thing, an MVP, minimal viable product. Because the thing is that even though you're absolutely sure that your idea is great, you really don't have any data. And without data, you're just guessing. So make sure that the first prototype you're producing is the smallest thing that you could possibly make, that really only gets down to the absolute basic core concept. And then you user test that. You test it with everybody, and not just your own family members. Because if you only do it with your family members, they're not going to give you an honest answer for the most part. It's important that you have objective people who are ruthless, go on Reddit or something like that, or Facebook or whatever, and put it out on social media for free for download, like the prototype, and just have people completely go nuts with it and like see what they're saying, because they are going to be ruthless. And if you survive that, then you start investing like more energy and time into it, because if you pass this process, you have rigorously tested that your app idea is solid, and then you start going into more serious development, and you start thinking about business plans and investors and all that stuff. But start with this process to begin with. So number one, make sure that you have a concrete understanding, like you can formalize very clearly what your app idea is about. Number two, make sure that you have value at small scale. Make sure that the app is going to, it doesn't matter if it's 10 people or 10 million people are using it, it provides value. And number three, make sure that you start off by building the absolute minimum thing you can possibly build, so that you can validate through user testing that the core idea is a good idea, and go from there.